Good morning. Wanted to make a video on what I predict will be uh, the day that the two witnesses come. So in Revelation 11, we're introduced to these guys. Uh, Revelation 11, verse 3, I will give power unto my two witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,203 days. That's 1,260 days. That's important. That's 30-day months for 12 months. 1,260 days would be 3 years and 6 months, but Daniel's 70th week uses 30-day months. And verse 4 says, These are the two olive trees and the two candlesticks standing before the God of the earth. So what is this talking about? Two candlesticks and two olive trees. I think, and this is why I'm guessing this, is if you go back to Zechariah 4, says, verse 11, Then I answered and said unto him, What are these two olive trees upon the right side of the candlestick, and upon the left side thereof? And I answered again and said unto him, What be these two olive branches, which be to the two golden pipes? So this is the same. These are the two olive trees and the two candlesticks. So, what is this pointing to? Well, if you read the first part of Zechariah chapter 4, it's a menorah. It's talking about a menorah, and these two olive trees and candlesticks are basically the oil to the menorah. So these two witnesses are seen as basically the oil or the power of the menorah. We believe is probably Moses and Elijah, which stands for the law and the prophets. Those keep the fire, the light lit, right? Or the menorah, the law and the prophets, the Bible, God's word, revelation. So then, so what is this? What's the timing of this? Well, Daniel gives us a very interesting figure in chapter 8, verse 14. Says, Unto 2,300 days the sanctuary then shall be cleansed. And what he's talking about here is Antiochus desecrated the temple, and the Maccabees rededicated it, and that's why the feast of dedication was established, which is Hanukkah. Took 2,300 days, but why is this in the Bible? You know what? It's not there for no reason. I mean, it was there for a particular reason. So I think Daniel's given us a riddle throughout Daniel, and I say that because when we take those 2,300 days, and it gets you to Kislev 25, which is Hanukkah, the Feast of Dedication. But then you get to Daniel chapter 12, and he's given us some weird numbers of, because we already saw 1,260 days is going to be the first half of the tribulation, and it's also going to be the second half of the tribulation. It's 7 years, 3 years and 6 months, and 3 years and 6 months. So you get to Daniel 12, and it's given us weird numbers of 1,335 days and 1,290 days, which, just if the tribulation is 7 years, it's just giving extra days. So if you watch I have another video explaining why I believe what I believe, but I believe those were given to us to calculate things, to figure things out. Because if you read even chapter 12, verse 10, it says, The wicked shall do wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand, but the wise shall understand. and then it gives those numbers. So I'm pretty sure it's something to figure out. It's something to calculate. I mean, otherwise, I'm sure Daniel knew, you know, the law well, knew the days well. He would have just pretty much been like, "Oh, well, I know exactly what this means," but he didn't understand it all. And it even says in verse 9, "Go thy way, Daniel, for the words are closed up and sealed till the time of the end." I think that means people would probably be able to understand and figure it out in the time of the end. So I started doing calculations with it, and I came out with what, and here's how I did it. I, and you can watch my other video, I'll explain it shortly here, but I took those 2,300 days using a base point of Kislev 25. Well, I took the 2,300 days minus the 1335, which he gives first, or which he gives there in chapter 12, verse 12. And that gives you 1,165 days. And I was just, doing some math with it, trying to figure out what it could be. And it gives me those 1,165 days. Well, if you subtract that from Kislev 25, and you're using those 30-day months for 12 months, so if you do that 3 times using a full year of 360 days, that's with 30-day months. You're gonna do that 3 times and come back to Kislev 25, and you'd have 8 days left, or 85 days left. So you would have 1,165 minus 360 minus 360 minus 360, and you'd have 85 days left. Well, 85 days prior to Kislev 25 is Tishri 1. So if that lines up, and the two witnesses are going to prophesy for 3 years and 6 months, Kislev 25 is the Feast of Dedication. That's when the menorah was able to light for 8 days. It was basically a miracle with the oil and the menorah. So Zechariah 4 is talking about a menorah, 2 candlesticks, and they're the 2 olive trees and the 2 candlesticks. It's basically pointing to like a menorah, what's keeping the menorah lit. Revelation 11 basically points exactly to the 2 witnesses being the 2 candlesticks and the 2 olive trees. It's basically drawing you back to the menorah. Daniel gives the specific time of the 2,300 days, talking about, basically pointing you to uh, Hanukkah, the Feast of Dedication, when there was a miracle with the menorah and the oil. And if you use these numbers from Daniel chapter 12, it gets you to, using the date of Kislev 25, it gets you to Tishri 1. And so what I believe and what I would predict is that the 2 witnesses will actually probably come on Tishri, in Tishri. I think what it is, it's pointing you to that. If these numbers are right, that would be my best guess. And so yeah, I think I think what all that was pointing to is, I think it's saying the 2 witnesses will probably come on Tishri 1, and if they prophesy for 360 days, or if they prophesy for 1,260 days, that's 3 years and 6 months. That means they're going to prophesy till Nisan 1, 3.5 years, for 3.5 years, because 6 months from Tishri is Nisan. So my best guess and what I would predict is they will come on Tishri, and then 3 years, three, a 3-year anniversary would just be Tishri again, and 6 months would be Nisan. They're going to come in Tishri 3.5 years later, their ministry will end in Nissan. I think that's what that's showing us. But that would be my guess. Thanks for watching.